Thank you so much for, as always, being so generous with your time with us and for the industry and agreeing to be part of the 4A's 2026 Look Ahead initiative. Our goal with this is really to help agencies better anticipate and prepare for the future as the major industry shifts are having a big impact on our business as we know it. As always, with something like this, there's no right or wrong answers. We're talking to a lot of leaders because we want their perspective, their different ideas, and coming from their different experiences. As I've mentioned in my note, as we kind of explore where agencies and marketers might evolve to over the next year and beyond, to kind of help frame the discussion, we've kind of posed two potential futures for agencies. One where they become kind of agencies as marketing purveyors, and they really evolve into more orchestrators of enterprise platforms, integrators of strategy and execution, proprietary solutions, and things of that nature, more in the reselling of technology. And then the other one being more where agencies are strategic partners. AI is commoditizing execution, and so they're really doubling down on the value lying within strategic imagination and creative problem solving and bringing outside perspective. And honestly, there's probably a world where a lot of these agencies will live somewhere in between. How are you seeing, how do you define the future role of agencies in a world that's being more and more shaped by technology? We're still seeing client insourcing and obviously AI. I mean, as you think about it, how do agencies kind of keep the human creativity and story that I know you talk so much about at their center in such a technology accelerated world?
So I would say that agencies need to follow two sets of principles. And one of them is what I call embrace, adapt, and complement,
Mm,
which is every agency should embrace all modern technology, including AI, the deepest and highest levels of the company, which is I would give every single person in my agency, if I ran one, a $60 a month budget so they could subscribe to the paid versions of Gemini, Claude, and OpenAI. I would tell them use it any way you want, but don't put any of our company data in it. I would then say, based on that, how would you adapt what you are doing? Because you have probably realized that some part of what you are doing no longer needs to be done. And then how do you complement these alien intelligent life forms that we are now working with? So I call AI alien intelligence. This is artificial intelligence. So first is you embrace, really embrace, and this includes senior people. So my belief is if you are the CEO of an agency, you should be spending 1 or 2 hours a week with AI, if not more.
yep.
If you are younger in the organization, 1 hour a day, if not more. So that's the embrace, adapt, and complement. The second set is what can you do what can you stop doing because these machines do it more efficiently?
Yeah.
What can you do differently because these machines can be done more effectively? But the last one is how do these machines completely change the nature of the task and what both clients might want and what you might do, which I call existential opportunities and threats. Okay. So we focus a lot on efficiency and effectiveness, but I don't think that's going to be a differentiator because everyone's going to have the same AI. So I don't believe any company is going to have better AI than any other company, unless you're Google versus OpenAI versus somebody. So you aren't going to have any of that. So the idea basically is, okay, everyone's going to have the same efficiencies and everyone's going to have the same effectiveness. We're going to basically win on existential opportunities and threats, both existential opportunities and threats for ourselves, but as importantly for our clients and prospects. Because existential opportunities and threats tend to come from outside the category.
Mm,
So a category never gets threatened by the category. You know, Tesla and Uber shocked the automobile companies, but they came from outside. Dollar Shave Club shocked Gillette and Schick, they came from outside.
yeah.
So one of the reasons why agents and agency becomes very important is because businesses and marketers by nature focus on their brands, their customers, their category. But some of the most amazing things are going to happen outside of a category.
Yep.
And And that's number one. Second, existential opportunity and threat is that we no longer are marketing to consumers, which is the word that clients use. We are marketing to the gods. So people with AI have far better power than Mark Pritchard does at Procter and Gamble, and he knows it. Okay, he's no longer marketing consumers; he's marketing to gods. So, in a world of godlike power, how can we help our clients? In a world where the threats and opportunities come from outside the category that they compete in, how can we help our clients? So, through a radical focus on gods and a radical focus on existential opportunities and threats, creates a reason for our being.
Yep. I love that. I love that. Well, let me ask you then, along those lines, so what do you think clients need most from their agency partners? I mean, you kind of just talked to it. Is the gap there really around capabilities? Is it around courage and perspective?
So
Um,
there are three parts of it there. First is what I basically call a enlightenment layer. So an enlightenment layer is bring me insights or ideas or imagination that lets me rethink either the people I'm marketing to, my category, or how to be distinctive,
mhm.
which I call insights, ideas, and imagination. So that's the enlightenment layer. Right? The second layer, which they are looking for, is the emotional layer, which is tell me something that I know is true, but I refuse to acknowledge for myself.
Mm.
So in my first book, and continues to be very popular when I go to boards, is I say, all of you are sitting around a table, looking at something brown and moist and pretending it's a brownie when it's a piece of shit. Okay, you refuse to call out the turd on the table. So, in the last 4 weeks, I will have been in 4 boardroom level conversations as a one person company, right? This included the CFO of P&G, the chief growth officer of Hershey's. Today I'm in Mexico and I do this globally. Why are they talking to me? Like, I don't even have a company. I'm like one crazy self-employed author. And that's primarily because I basically say, hey, there's a turd on the table. Or, hey, by the way, nobody wants to work for you. That's why they're not coming back to the office. It's not the place, it's you. We've entered an age of debossification,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is an emotionally, obviously, got to do it. I do it in a way that people still like me. I'm not going to go in there and projectile vomit. No one's going to wait in the room. They'll leave, they'll throw me out, they'll never call me back. So it's like having the EQ to also tell people the emotional thing, because I believe that humans are driven primarily by emotion and not by anything else. So the emotional layer, but also that same emotional layer of what's going on in the world, how to make, so, and the third one, so there's the enlightenment. And the enlightenment is also, besides the ideas and imagination and things, is that here's what's going on. Here are my insights about the world.
Yeah.
So you've got the enlightenment layer, you've got the emotional layer. And then the third one you basically have is the education layer.
Mm.
Okay. And the education layer is this. I believe the world is moving so fast that people are going to require people to interpret stuff for them. Right. So often what I go in, besides I work more on the emotional and educational layer because I don't have the resources and the time to come up with ideas and insights and reimagine categories. I really don't. Okay. That requires teams and experts and people and focus, which I no longer have. But I can do the emotional thing and I can do the education thing. But even the education is I actually learn from other people and I interpret it differently. But the education level is the businesses are asking, how do I have a relevant business model for the future? Do I have the right and relevant organizational design, suppliers, and talent? And senior leaders are asking whether they themselves are relevant. Those are called the 3 relevances, right?
Yeah.
So I go in and say, here is what I believe organizations should look like in the future. Here is what I believe I'm doing in order to remain relevant at 66, and you should be doing at 45. Okay. The same thing, but I'm doing it, you should do it. Because if I'm doing it, you should do it. And I don't need a job and you do need a job. So let's try that. So education, emotion, and enlightenment.
So do you see EQ becoming an even more necessary skill in the future for agency?
Yes, yes. EQ becomes more and more important. And that's the ability to be able to, that's what I call my HI. So just like I call AI alien intelligence, I don't call HI human intelligence because that's been beaten. I call it 5 or 6 different things: human insight, human intuition, human inspiration, human interaction. Because one of the things that the machines do not understand is that humans are not logical.
Yeah.
We're not like Spock. So if the AI is like Spock, we are like Dr. McCoy. Okay. Deeply goddamn emotional, dramatic, red in the face. Okay. And in effect, so are people out there that are, whoever you're working with, are selling, the people and gods. So and the gods are, if you study the gods were very emotional people. They had jealousies and everything else. So that is very important. Now, there is a thought that if you notice what I'm not saying is creativity.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason I'm not using the word creativity is I think the machines are very creative. And there's early research that shows we just refuse to acknowledge how creative the machines are. Right? I think machines will do 90% of the creative lifting. And then people will do the last 10%. And that might be the last 5%. And this whole idea of the machines will free us to do higher order things. I said, what higher order things are you talking about? So they said, well, strategy. So I said, I wrote a strategy for a group 10 years ago. They're still using it. I did it. Now, what else do they want me to do? Write it again and again? No. Right? So the interesting thing is higher order effect things don't require that much time. Yeah, it frees up 90% of your time. How much time do you need to write a strategy? Another 3 months? You're writing it forever? That's not a strategy. You're changing it every 6 months. That wasn't a strategy either.
Yeah.
Right? So what people keep saying is they say stuff which is I call like, I don't know what it is. It's like strange thought. Explain to me what high order thing are you going to do? If you are freed from coming up with a concept and coming up with different versions and doing the media strategy and the media plan, what higher order effect is going to require your company to pay you a full-time salary for you to think of some higher order thing? What is that? And the other one, which I need to ask people is, that higher order effect tends to come from people who are really, really good. How many really, really, really good people is that in a company? Okay. So if you look at modern companies today, which are AI first and talent everywhere, they're really small in number of people.
Yeah.
So you can't suddenly say I got an agency of 200, that 180 were doing stuff that the machines can do better, and I'm going to have 200 people doing higher order effect things. No, you're going to basically have a company that's 45 people doing higher order things.
So,
and you're not, and then that is another thing that people aren't honestly speaking about. So like in my Substack is very popular. I wrote the most recent one that companies don't transform, people do. And I was at an event and Richard Edelman gave me his latest study on trust. And he says, look, people don't trust their management, especially on AI, because they're not saying it straight. The reality of it is AI is going to affect every job and is going to eliminate 20 to 30% of the jobs that are currently being done. I'm not saying there won't be new jobs.
right.
So start with that. Don't say, no, this is not going to affect anybody.
So let me ask you, do you have thoughts then on, we're certainly having a lot of conversations on, okay, so if these underling jobs are kind of going away because the machines can do a lot of that, and we're an industry that basically is an apprenticeship model for
Yeah,
learning.
yeah.
And based on what you're saying, you're going to really, the folks that you're going to keep are going to be those uber thinkers, those uber high value, good people. How do we get thoughts on how we grow those people when we're kind of taking away the lower rungs of the ladder to help them on that path?
Okay, so I'm going to give you something, and this obviously is an indication of the fact that I no longer run anything in the real world. So this might seem like,
Okay.
thank you. This might seem very out of it. I don't think it's completely out of it, but you may not hear this from other people. So I'm going to mention it. You may not, you might. I don't think our apprentice model made any sense because we were making people do garbage shit. It was useless work. If that's the way you train people, you're training people for useless things. Like, what exactly was that? Like, I spent the first 5, 6 years of my life in those days doing things like photostatting and FedExing. And what is that? Like, tell me why. So why don't we go and like hunt animals? That's an apprentice model too. So I believe that what we need to basically do is reimagine our company and decide what very well trained, AI trained people who are coming out of school today should do.
Mm,
And they are not going to do what the young kid of us did. We have
yeah.
this nostalgic love for our earlier selves. It was stupid people that we were, right? That's a horrible place to go there. Like, so that's what I'm trying to understand. What I'm saying is like, I think this is fantastic. People don't have to pay their dues for things that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And so what I basically say is, hey, look, I'm looking for people now who have, when I look for talent, or I help people look for talent, I don't like when I help people look for talent. Uh, I basically say, here's what you should be looking for. And you should be looking for people who are cognitively smart and have the ability to learn and unlearn. You're looking for people who are very good at expressing themselves because that's what creativity is. According to Sir John Egerty, is an expression of oneself.
Yep.
You want people who are curious, who can ask what if, why not. People who are very, very collaborative, both with alien life forms and human life forms, and people who have amazing writing and speaking skills.
Yeah.
Okay. You give them, I'll build you a company. Now, why you have to go pay dues for all that? That school should be able to do that. And then somewhere in that whole thing, I basically say, show me somebody, and this may, show me somebody who has practiced resurrection. So that is resilience and grit. Like,
Yep.
so my whole stuff is I want to know people who went through Good Fridays and managed to get to Easter Sunday. Okay. That's who I'd hire for. I wouldn't, and that can be from anywhere. That can come from a Ivy League school. It can come from no school. Okay, but it's just talent. And I think the real challenge that I believe that all businesses have. I'm not just saying the agency business. I include clients. I include consultants. I include everything else. Is I believe we have a leadership crisis,
Mm,
and most of our leaders aren't thinking straight anymore. Right? They basically are faking it and they're talking about nonsense. My whole stuff is you don't even use these things. What are you talking about? Right? And if you did use these things, why do you think with this, we have to do it a mini version of you again?
yeah.
Like, why would that be true? And and the other part of it is a leadership crisis is basically too many people are still working under a zone of control model when we've gone into a zone of influence model.
Hmm.
Okay. And so in many ways, what AI is simply doing is it's shining the light that many companies, including the agency business, did not invest enough in talent development. And now it's showing.
Yeah. It's it, the chickens come home to roost.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
I mean, it's basically that's what it is.
yeah. Well, so kind of building off of that and getting more to maybe at the organizational level, like what kind of capabilities or mindsets do you think clients either are
Right.
or should be looking for in an agency collaborator? And, are there things that agencies that they need from agencies? Are there things that agencies need to unlearn using your?
Yeah. So I think what people should what I would look for is and looking for people who allow me to extend myself and my organization in extremely flexible and cost-effective ways.
Mhm.
So I've got things. I'm adding you. So I'm adding you to do what? To extend me into places I normally would not go in very flexible ways I cannot do by hiring those people full time in my organization
Mhm.
and doing it in a way that allows me to be highly cost competitive. In today's world, you can't run away from cost competitiveness. So we say, okay, cost competitiveness. So for instance, think about an agency as an interface layer that connects the rest of the world to that company and
Mm.
plugs and plays with the best of the rest of the world very quickly, right? And says, and because they can flexibly bring in people, both human talent, partners, data sets, etc. So it's an extension of myself in flexible and cost-effective ways because that's what I need. I need to be bigger than myself as a client. And who will let me be bigger than myself? And I can't be all things to all people because then I'll have a very non-flexible, very high cost structure,
Yeah. No, I love that.
right?
I think it's great.
And that would be a way to do it.
Yeah. So switching gears a little bit, but maybe building off of that still, so how might agencies balance being technology implementers and being independent strategic thinkers? Or are those
Yeah.
things at odds?
So I think that's going to be one of the very interesting things. So when we say technology implementers, I think increasingly the implementation of the technology is going to become easier and easier. So it's really how do I leverage the different technologies to achieve the goal and tell the story,
Mhm.
right? And right now there is different models. So, and again, I'm not on top of this as I used to be many, many years ago, but there's a WPP model, which I think is really smart, even though I don't work there or I never worked there. And, my old place of work might not agree. So I think they saw what was coming before most people did, which is the dominant force in the next generation of AI is going to be Google.
Mm.
Okay, now it's become clear. To me, it was very clear because I actually study this in great detail, and my stuff is okay. They got what's needed because I understood how this works. If they can get their act together, which they have over the last year, so they had all the assets. WPP has basically said we're going in all with Google. That's what they basically said.
Yeah.
Now, that means people can come to them and say they're selling Google's book. Okay, fine. What are you selling, Publicis? Well, I'm selling Core AI. Well, that's your book. Okay. And what are you selling, IPG? Well, I'm selling Open AI plus Google plus Claude plus Grok plus, I'll connect and put all of those things. Fine. But I don't think that's going to be fast, cost competitive, and as efficient as one needs to be. So, in effect, what happens is one model will basically be I'm going to be better at Google than anybody else. And I'm going to make that thing hum. And I'm going to be that practitioner for that. And if I need to plug and play other things, I'll do that. That seems to be the WPP model. I'm not sure. Again, I've not studied it. I don't pay attention like I used to. But a lot of people said, why are they doing that? And I said, and the other is their balance sheet doesn't allow them to go buy things. So that's what they have to do. The balance sheet of a publicist is different. They can go buy things. And they'll do fine, and I like what they're doing, which is great. Okay, the but if you're not a big company, most of the agencies are not necessarily big. There's a plethora of different types of agencies. I think there, what you basically do is you do two things. You focus like crazy and you partner like mad. Okay.
Mhm.
So you focus on a few things. And I'll give you sort of an idea. One of the reasons that I tend to have triple focuses, which is not a complete focus, but they're all about the same thing. But today, like for a long time, I focused on one thing, which is the future. Okay.
Yep.
Change management in the future. And my old stuff is I really know that stuff well. And I've done it for decade after decade across the world, across companies. I'm doing it to myself, trying to keep myself current. So I think I'm very good at that. And people say you're very good at that, so we'll call you. So they're calling what they consider to be among the best people in a field. So in this field, I'm among the best. I'm not saying there may be 50 of us, but I'm one of those, okay? There's probably less. But I'm not claiming that I know about DSPs. I'm not saying I know about ad tech. I'm not saying I know about marketing tech. I'm not even saying I'm knowing about strategy or creativity. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying change management and future, I can do that. Okay. Now, the next thing I did and tried to earn credibility, which was I said, I know what the future of work looks like. So rethinking work. Okay.
Mhm.
I said, I've done research, I've written a book. I now talk to people. I think I know about rethinking work. And I've actually worked inside a company and reorganized things and launched new things. So I know how that gets done. So rethinking work. And the third thing I focus on is modern leadership. Okay. Which is what do leaders look like? Now, in effect, they're all the same thing, right? Which is how do you basically thrive in tectonic times? Well, the way you thrive in tectonic times is you think from a future perspective, rethink the whole organization and work, and rethink leadership. That's what I do, right? But even in all of those, I partner like crazy. So if you go to my rethinkingwork.io platform, every week I'm talking to leaders about the future of work. I'm not the only person who talks about the future, right? Including 25-year-olds who are launching new companies. So I said, what the hell's going on, right? And when it's like modern leadership, I have a thing called Athena Project where I'm talking to world's greatest leaders. Okay. So in effect, what begins to happen is people say, okay, that's really cool. He's focused. But I'm very flexible in that I'm partnering with other people in those fields, which means I actually often go in as the Tabasco sauce to somebody else who sold a pizza.
Yeah.
Okay. So the client has hired another firm. And about half of what I do is I plug into that other firm. Nobody's hired Rishad Tobaccowala LLC. I show up as a subcontractor to that firm who basically says, for this, there's this clown who's pretty good. We're going to get him for the day here to help us on this. Then you don't have to see his stupid face. Okay. We're paying him and all is well. And I come in and I do my stuff and then they say, can we hire you? I said, I only do this stuff, right? And if you want to hire me straight, it's no different than hiring me through this firm, because in effect, the firm hasn't marked me up, just so you know. They're sending you my costs. But the difference is the firm will answer you and answer your calls. And once I do my stuff, I'm not answering any of your calls. Okay. I'm not in the client service business. I'm not trying to keep you, right? You need these people. So now what's happened is, remember, the agency gets people like me.
Yep. Yeah.
Because remember, when we say agent, you are an agent of the client. And an agent of the client basically gets people for them.
Yeah. Aggregators, collectors.
Yeah. Right. And so everyone, so in this whole idea of this technology and architecture is the idea really is if you think about how do I extend flexibly and cost competitively?
Yeah.
Right. And I can do that with talent. I can do it with technology. I can do it with other partners. All the time, I'm educating you to what's out there because I, by nature, should be able to see more broadly than any particular, not me, but if I worked in an agency, than any particular company. And today, in a very strange way, I see often more broadly than agencies do, which is really weird. And I'm trying to understand why. Okay. In some places, I'm not saying wider, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
and the reason is because I'm actually doing what agencies are supposed to do, which is I'm focused 100% on whoever has hired me for that day, right? So I'm a mercenary working for that particular person, and I've got nothing to sell except in what the person wants done. So I'm listening to them. Okay, what do you need? And if I happen to be occasionally the answer to it, I'll tell you, but most likely I'm not. What do you need? So what I don't, when people, they said like, you're listening to us because you want to know what we need. I said, yeah, because I don't need to sell you anything. Like I got a book, I get $3, you can buy one. Fine. Now I've got nothing more to sell. You hire me for a talk, they're not available for anything. I'm not going to do any real work. You know that. I was incapable 20 years ago, I had teams. Today I'm completely incapable. I don't have teams. So I'm just trying to figure out what the hell you need and how to get that done. Right. Which makes my business interesting because they say, okay, we trust you. Can you suggest people?
Mm.
Right. And I say, well, I'll suggest 3 at a time. I'm not suggesting one. And if in any case I have any kind of monetary link up with any one of them, I'll announce it ahead of time. Okay. So I'm going to tell you, I'm introducing you to 3. This one, I actually am an advisor to. The other 2 are very good also in the category. I'm just telling you, you may want to discount this other one because I'm bringing you someone who I'm an advisor to. So what does the client basically say? We trust you.
Yeah.
Okay. We trust you. Next thing is we trust you that you're looking after our needs. We trust you that you're telling us very clearly if you've got any conflict of interest. You're being very transparent, right? And then from time to time, you're willing to like throw a tantrum in our offices when you think we don't get it, but very nicely, right? So you're going to basically say, I don't know what, like, and of course I'll say it like, hey, listen, I don't have a job. You have a job. I don't exactly understand how this is working, but I think this is stupid. But explain to me why what I don't get in this movie, right? And then often it is stupid. My thinking is stupid, but that's only 1 out of 3 times. 2 out of 3 times, I'm actually raising something that's actually a real issue. But and so their stuff is, we like you hanging around because you sometimes tell us stuff that other people don't tell us. And I said, like, why aren't they telling it to you? And they say, because they have an agenda to sell their book. Right. And my thing is, an agent, you should not be, the more you tell the client that you're looking after them in a world that is chaotic, confusing, and moving really fast. So the thing that people don't realize, why I think there'll always be a need for an agent, is nobody can keep up.
Yeah.
Okay. I have agents. I'm not talking about agentic AI. I have agents. I have people who literally once every 2 weeks call me for an hour and teach me different things. Okay. And I said, like, explain to me what happened for the last 2 weeks in this space. I have no time. You're my agent. Tell me. And I said, as you know, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tell businesses what to pay attention to on. I myself don't know how the hell to do that. You tell me in this space what I should pay attention to. But what I'm now listening to is all of them. And I'm trying to connect the dots and say, is there something that I'm seeing because I'm talking to all of these people that I can add a value? So in effect, I'm creating the ultimate bouquet by visiting all these different flower companies.
You're putting your value, that's the value add.
That's the value. But the value basically saying is, Molly wants a bouquet like this, right? And Sally wants a bouquet like that. And I got to make sure that Molly gets the bouquet that she wants and Sally wants the bouquet like this. And then once in a while, I'll tell Molly, which is you, I think you don't need a bouquet today. You need a cactus. Okay. And here's why. That's the value you add. Giving you the bouquet you want and occasionally telling you need a cactus.
Yeah. So let me ask you, as you think about kind of as the role that you're outlining for agencies to play, do you see agencies reinventing their business model in any way interesting that's helping them to facilitate that? Is there anything that you're seeing, or what do you think agencies need to change about their business model in order to play that kind of role?
So what I believe what you're going to basically have is you're going to have different types of agencies. So if I were to be an agency today, I would say if you're smaller, you're better off than if you're larger.
Mm.
Okay. And the reason is because agility and speed and reinvention happens faster with smaller companies than with larger companies. Okay. So no longer, I think, is scale such a huge benefit. That's number one, with maybe the possible exception of media.
Yeah.
Okay. That's about it. Okay. So outside of that, you're going to have a plethora of different agencies across the space. I think what agencies are starting to do is they're starting to figure out that they have to change again. And this time, this is going to be one of those big changes. As you know, as someone who basically has always said that agencies are not dinosaurs, we are cockroaches, right? So we have to scurry harder and scuttle around harder. But what I do believe is this time around, it'll be a different type of cockroach. I always said one day there's going to be a flying cockroach, which actually does exist
I was
in the
gonna
real
say,
world.
I grew up in the South a little bit, so I know
Right.
that.
So you know they're flying cockroaches, right? So I said we're going to have to be like flying cockroaches. This is going to be like a quantum jump we're going to have to take into a new sort of world. And that's going to require a lot of effort and things like that. And there's going to be a lot of pressure. But what I would say is, as much as the agency business is under pressure, I know of no client business which isn't under the same pressure.
Yeah.
So sometimes what we tend to do is we tend to self-flagellate so much that we don't see other people's pain.
Yeah.
Okay. So we may want to also think about that. So I think there'll be different agencies. Agencies will have to reorganize. I would reorganize around what am I really good at? Where
Mhm.
can I get trust? Right. And how can I partner like crazy? That's that, extent through efficiency and flexibility. But depending on the industry you're working for, your client, your own talent base, we all work within constraints. I can't be a basketball player, unfortunately, because of my height. So I have to play cricket where the players are short. Things like that. Everybody's got a constraint. So my stuff is like, okay, just get real now. There are only some things you can do. The other is, what do you need to do? You want to basically do meaningful work that builds things, attracts talent, and makes money. You don't have to take over the world. So there are lots of opportunities for that.
Yep. Wonderful. So let me ask, in this future, is there a vision of the two visions we've kind of laid out around enterprise partners and kind of strategic purveyors versus strategic partners? Do you think one's more viable than the other for the
Yeah,
future?
so I think the thing that's more likely in the future is people who are strategic partners, strategic um, plug and play pieces for the rest of the empire than implementers. And the reason is, I think most of the implementation businesses like a Salesforce and Accenture and Cognizant
Mhm.
are going to go into that space because their normal space is dying.
Mm.
And they already have the CTO, CIO relationships. It'll be very hard for the agencies to get there,
Yeah.
right? And I've seen it again. If you notice, again, I'm not involved. I'm lightly connected to my own place of work. I'm no longer connected the way I used to be. But looking from outside, it's interesting that Sapient isn't doing well over the last 5 years. It's flat. Why? Is from outside, right? They got good leaders. They're working in a company that's growing like really well. Why? I think that entire space of helping clients with technology is oversupplied.
Mm.
Okay. And those people I think are going to have much more. It's going to be much easier for an Accenture or a Deloitte than even a Sapient, which actually had a thing. And just imagine an agency without a Sapient going in.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? It's going to be impossible, right? And how many of those are needed? Because, by the way, those things require massive scale when you do it.
Yeah.
How many agencies have that? They don't. And in fact, what's happening is that most agencies are becoming smaller. Like, if you actually see the size of the agencies, they're becoming smaller. And IPG is much smaller. XHuge, XRGA. IPG Omnicom, I believe, will be smaller than Omnicom.
Mm.
So
Wow.
Omnicom plus IPG combined will be smaller than Omnicom of 2 years ago,
Hmm.
right? And so that tells a story also of another story, which is there's incredible talent from the agency services business who are all over the place. And they're coming up with weird ideas. And because I'm a free agent, I guess, I'm seeing what these people are doing because they're calling me, asking for advice. And the seniority of people that are starting to do this, right? And I never give names, but my whole stuff is, oh shit. Even do their holding company leaders know what the hell is going on? This is not like some Tom, Dick, and Harry like me. It's
Oh,
like senior people, like
yeah.
really good people. And so I think what you're going to see is a massive sort of a massive change in the organizational design, all of which are actually going to be good because fundamentally, I do believe that our business, because it combines the story and the spreadsheet,
Hmm.
is probably best suited for the future than businesses that are only story driven or only spreadsheet driven.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
businesses that are only spreadsheet driven get machined away by these silly AIs, right? And things that are only story driven and aren't paying attention to spreadsheet, which is a lot of Hollywood, are having their
Yeah.
like right. And so you need to combine the two. And we have over the last 15, 20 years, because of technology, become a story and spreadsheet business.
Yeah.
Now, there may be fights about it focusing too much on the spreadsheet and we've lost the magic, etc. But we become a story and spreadsheet business. I'll sort of end with that, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. Let me ask you, so is there anything, are there any assumptions that you see agencies making about the future right now that you think are dangerous or wrong?
Yeah, so I would say that agencies are making the following 4 or 5 possible mistakes. The first is believing that scale is going to matter more and more. I think scale is going to matter less and less. That's number one. Number two is, and this one, almost nobody agrees with me. So this is clearly not ready. I've tried it and people have built cases, right? I don't think data is going to matter as much as people think it is.
Hmm.
Now, this
Interesting.
is this is a highly weird take on somebody who bought Epsilon and a bunch of stuff, right? But the reason my basic belief simply is if we spend more and more time with the AI machine, they get to know us in real time. Who the hell knows whether I've got what data do they need?
Yeah.
Once I start talking to these things for 15, 20 minutes, they tell me what I need to do. I don't need all that first party, second party cookie data. Now, a lot of people are telling me that's bullshit and that's not happening, etc. So that's the esoteric ones. I can really build a scale for scale. The other one is a basic belief, which I've talked about, is that the way people got trained is the way people will get trained in the future.
Mm.
The fourth is that people have to pay their dues, that you have to spend 10, 15 years to understand what's going on. Not true at all.
Yeah.
And the biggest one really is that I think not everyone, a majority of the leaders of our industry to go back to school. Seriously. I
Mm.
just
Mm.
don't think they know what the hell is going on. They're faking it. Okay. So the whole idea that our current leaders can lead, I'm not sure. Scale matters, not so sure. That you have to wait your time, not so sure. That the old ways of training is right, not so sure. And then just the esoteric one is I'm not sure data is going to be as important as people are fixating on. But that is just my perspective, and it's probably wrong. With everybody who I've talked to has proved to me why it's wrong. But there's a gut feeling that tells me there's something strange when I talk to these GPT things that they get to know me very quickly and they don't need to have any of my past data to know me very quickly. And if that becomes my interface to shop and everything else, who cares about all the stupid data you got?
Okay, so what would be one piece of advice that you would give to the next generation of agency leaders to best prepare them for where the industry is going then?
I would say do three things. First is spend an hour every day learning, right? Second is meet a new person, a different person, both within your organization or outside, and ask them to tell you what's on their mind and what's bothering them and what they think is the future of this industry. And third is once every few weeks, build a case why the exact opposite of what you believe is true.
Perfect. Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you. Hopefully that was helpful.
This was fantastic, Rishad. Thank you so much.